Imagine waking up one morning to find nearly one out of every two ships on the world's oceans stranded, their routes blocked by sudden conflict. Almost half of the planet's trade, including the technology in your smartphone, the parts in your car, and the groceries in your kitchen, is thrown into chaos overnight. For most people, these shipping lanes are invisible, yet they are the arteries of the modern world. Suddenly, they are at risk of becoming battlegrounds. What happens next could redefine how the global economy functions, and almost nobody is truly prepared for the shockwaves that may follow. This is not just a hypothetical scenario. Right now, a seismic shift is underway, a dramatic realignment of global power that stretches from the bustling ports of Shanghai to the icy naval bases of Vladivostok. At the heart of this transformation are two countries, China and Russia. Over the past decade, their leaders have forged a partnership deeper than at any time in modern history, bound together by shared ambitions and a clear sense that their interests are threatened by the West. Europe's ambassador to Australia, Gabriele Visintin, has issued a stark warning. There is a clear link between the Chinese and the Russian visions of what the new international rules-based order should be. For decades, the West enjoyed dominance in shaping the rules of global engagement. But today, that dominance is being challenged. The global center of gravity is shifting eastward, and the implications are profound. Let's look at the numbers driving this transformation. In the year 2024, China's stockpile of operational nuclear warheads shot past 600. That is nearly triple what the country possessed just 4 years earlier, a pace of expansion that has stunned military analysts worldwide. China's annual defense budget now stands at approximately 246 billion United States dollars, a figure representing a 7.2% surge from the previous year. This is not just about more tanks or ships, it is about a comprehensive modernization. China's military is racing forward, investing heavily in traditional firepower and cutting-edge innovations. Breakthroughs in artificial intelligence have allowed China to achieve an astonishing 92.2% accuracy in detecting submarines, a game-changing leap in naval warfare. Its stealth jet fighters, like the J-20, now boast radar detection ranges that rival or even outclass their Western counterparts, thanks to advancements in semiconductor technology. The People's Liberation Army has set an ambitious goal: to be capable of projecting power on a global scale by the centenary of its founding in the year 2049. This is not just rhetoric. Resources, technology, and strategic intent are aligning for the first time in China's modern history. Security expert John No describes China's military buildup as unprecedented. The figures back him up. Projections suggest that by the year 2030, China could possess over 1,000 operational nuclear warheads. Michael E. O'Hanlon, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, is even more blunt. Shared strategic interests are driving the China-Russia partnership. But this story is not only about tanks and warships. The invisible threads that connect our world, the supply chains for technology, especially semiconductors, are also at risk. Semiconductors are the tiny chips that power everything from your morning alarm clock to the satellites orbiting above. If conflict were to erupt in the Indo-Pacific, particularly over Taiwan, the effects could be catastrophic. United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth put it plainly. Any attempt by Communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world. Why is Taiwan so critical? The island is home to some of the world's most advanced semiconductor factories, producing chips that are vital not just for electronics, but also for automobiles, medical devices, and energy infrastructure. A war or blockade in the region would send shockwaves through global manufacturing, potentially halting entire industries and causing shortages far beyond Asia. Imagine cars sitting unfinished in factories, hospitals running short on equipment, and digital services grinding to a halt. The impact would ripple through every corner of the global economy. Australia is feeling the tension firsthand. Sitting on the edge of this geopolitical storm, its leaders are sounding the alarm. Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles has voiced deep concerns over China's rapidly growing nuclear arsenal, saying it is driving security anxiety across the region. Australia, like many countries, relies heavily on open sea lanes for both trade and security. Any disruption could threaten its prosperity and stability. Europe, too, is watching with growing unease. Ambassador Visintin emphasizes that about 40% of European trade flows through the Indo-Pacific region. If these routes were disrupted, the consequences would reach European supermarkets, factories, and financial markets. The interconnectedness of global trade means that a crisis in Asia would not remain confined to one region. It would quickly become everyone's problem. But here's the deeper dilemma facing the West. The economic fate of the United States and its allies is now intertwined with the very countries challenging their dominance. On one hand, they cannot afford to lose access to vibrant Asian markets and high-tech supply chains. On the other, every move to counter China and Russia, whether through sanctions, military posturing, or new alliances, risks pushing the world closer to fragmentation or even open conflict. As Beijing and Moscow tighten their partnership, the question looms: can the rest of the world adapt quickly enough to avoid disaster on the high seas and in the digital economy? Or are we witnessing the dawn of a new era, one defined by economic and technological warfare with unpredictable winners and losers? The answer will decide the future prosperity of billions of people. To understand what this partnership could mean for the future, let's explore a few possible scenarios, some more unsettling than others. First, the risk of open conflict is real and growing. With China's defense budget nearing $250 billion and its nuclear arsenal expanding rapidly, the military balance in Asia is shifting. Experts warn that by the beginning of the next decade, China could field more than 1,000 nuclear warheads, a level of deterrence that could embolden it to take riskier actions. The specter of a confrontation over Taiwan, or even disputed islands in the South China Sea, cannot be dismissed. Meanwhile, the China-Russia partnership is evolving beyond symbolic gestures. Their joint naval exercises in the Sea of Japan and beyond are not simply about showing off hardware, they are about mastering interoperability. This means that Russian and Chinese forces are learning to operate seamlessly together, sharing tactics, intelligence, and command structures. Some analysts argue this is the closest the world has seen to a true military alliance between these powers since the darkest days of the Cold War. Michael O'Hanlon of the Brookings Institution notes, "Shared strategic interests are driving this partnership, and that's a serious threat to the existing world order." Andrew Scoble, another expert on Asian security, describes the relationship as a quasi-alliance that directly threatens United States national interests. These warnings are echoed by security officials in both Europe and the Indo-Pacific, who are now recalibrating defense strategies to account for the possibility of coordinated action by China and Russia. For the global economy, the stakes are enormous. Imagine a scenario where conflict erupts over Taiwan or the South China Sea. The world's supply of semiconductors, microchips essential for everything from smartphones to power plants, could be cut off almost overnight. The European Union, which relies on the Indo-Pacific for nearly half its trade, would see supermarkets emptied, car factories stalled, and digital services disrupted. Even the United States, with its vast resources, would not be immune. The ripple effects would not stop there. Consider the insurance sector. Shipping rates would skyrocket, and premiums could become unaffordable for many companies. Marine insurers might refuse to cover certain routes altogether, driving up the cost of goods and slowing economic recovery for years. In short, a conflict in Asia could send shockwaves through every corner of the global economy, from Wall Street to your local grocery store. But it's not all doom and gloom. The pressure to adapt is already driving remarkable innovation and new alliances. Western countries are racing to reshore the production of vital components. The European Union and Australia, for example, are forging deeper partnerships, not military alliances, but strategic cooperation in defense industries, technology, and resource security. These efforts aim to reduce dependency on any single region or supplier. Take the semiconductor industry. The United States, Japan, and the European Union have all launched multi-billion-dollar initiatives to build advanced chip factories at home. Meanwhile, Australia is investing in rare earth mining and processing, breaking China's near monopoly on critical minerals. These moves are not just about economics, they are about national security and long-term resilience. The digital order of the future may also look very different. Both East and West are pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity. China's leap to a 92.2% accuracy rate in AI-driven submarine detection is just one example of how technology is reshaping the battlefield and everyday life. Artificial intelligence is already transforming logistics, healthcare, and finance, creating both new opportunities and vulnerabilities. So, what practical steps can you take, whether you're an entrepreneur, a worker, or simply someone concerned about the future? First, do not be paralyzed by the headlines. History shows that global power shifts are nothing new. The difference today lies in the speed and complexity of these changes. Countries that adapt quickly, embracing innovation, diversifying supply chains, and investing in education will emerge stronger. If you work in technology, manufacturing, or trade, now is the time to understand your supply chains. How dependent are you on goods or components from Asia? Consider diversifying your suppliers, sourcing locally when possible, or investing in more resilient logistics systems. For investors, watch for industries that are prioritizing security and adaptability, such as clean energy, AI, and advanced manufacturing. Individuals, too, have a role to play. In a world where economic and technological shocks can arrive with little warning, knowledge is your best defense. Stay informed, not just about headlines, but about the deeper trends shaping the global order. Learn new skills, stay flexible in your career, and be ready for opportunities that arise in times of change. Above all, remember that this is not just a story about distant countries or armies. The choices made in Beijing, Moscow, Washington, Brussels, and Canberra will shape the way you live, work, and connect with others for decades to come. Every trade deal, every technology policy, every diplomatic summit is a piece of the puzzle. So, can the world adapt quickly enough to avoid disaster? The answer is complex. Adaptation is happening, but it is a race against time. The next 5 years will be critical. What many do not realize is that, behind the scenes, more diplomatic and economic dialogues are underway than at any point since the end of the Cold War. The world may be entering a new era of rivalry, but also one of negotiation, reinvention, and, perhaps, renewed cooperation. As you watch these global shifts unfold, stay curious and engaged. Ask yourself, where do I fit into this changing landscape? What opportunities can I seize, and what risks should I prepare for? And most importantly, how can we, as a global community, build a future that is both prosperous and secure? If you want to keep up with the collision of technology and economics, and see how these tectonic shifts will affect your world, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we are headed for disaster, or is a new balance possible?